I am personally going to do everything I can to make sure that we all do everything we can to fight acts of terror like this in Florida. That's why today, I'm proud to announce that as part of my 2017-2018 budget, I'm going to put in $5.8 million for counterterrorism and intelligence efforts to make sure we combat any act of terrorism that might happen in our state. This $5.8 million investment will allow FDLE to hire 46 agents who specialize in counterterrorism and intelligence. Terror like we saw in the attack on Pulse nightclub is a threat to our state, our nation, and each of us. And we need specialists that are solely dedicated to identify these terrorists and stopping them before they attack. These specialized agents will be organized into counterterrorism squads that are stationed in each of FDLE's 7 regions. Preventing terrorism is a collaborative effort, and this important investment in our state's top law enforcement agency will ensure that Florida is doing our part to defeat terrorism and protect everyone in our state.
Scott will be in Tampa outlining his proposal to combat terror attacks here in Florida.
We first told you about Scott's $5.8 million plan. He wants lawmakers to approve this session. ABC Action News anchor Lindsay Logue is live with details on that plan. And Lindsay, this comes less than a year after the deadly nightclub shootings in Orlando.
And Dan, it was that attack in Orlando that is why the governor is pushing for this. He calls his proposal critical for the state, and in 1 hour he will be here at FDLE headquarters in Tampa to outline the specifics of his plan. We know he wants upwards of $6 million taxpayer dollars, and that money would go to hire about 50 counterterrorism agents that would work under FDLE. It would also pay for new equipment that they would need to analyze potential terrorists in our backyard. Now, a security expert with years of experience as a counterterrorism agent for the FBI told us why cities like Tampa could be a target.
Obviously, soft targets in cities and in metropolitan areas where you have large crowds of people, open air markets.
In 2016, the FBI logged 900 ISIS investigations in all 50 states, and the terror group continues to successfully recruit people through social media. We will be here this morning for the governor's announcement to add FDLE in Tampa, but remember his proposal, getting it anywhere off the ground, that's up to state lawmakers when they start session. That's in March. Live in
Five people have succumbed to their wounds and tragically are dead. We are not releasing any information on any of the victims until we identify them, which is going to take some time, and we are able to respectfully notify the next of kin first. The investigation continues. We have area SWAT teams in the Broward Sheriff's Office SWAT team clearing the entire airport. There'll be no movement in or about the airport until our SWAT teams give me real-time information that it's safe. Right now we're taking, this scene is considered fluid and active. We won't be, well, we have, one of the more critical pieces of information is we have the shooter in custody. He's unharmed. No law enforcement fired any shots. The subject is being interviewed by a team of FBI agents and Broward Sheriff's Office homicide detectives. There's been incredible cohesiveness and cooperation between the Broward Sheriff's Office, the FBI, FDLE, and all the local law enforcement entities.
Hours now, hundreds still remain outside on the tarmac. And I want to bring back our Chris Van Cleve, transportation correspondent in Washington. And Chris, we now have a report from Chip LaMarca. He's a Broward County commissioner who has provided this information that the shooter, again, suspect identified as 26-year-old Esteban Santiago Ruiz, was a passenger on an Air Canada flight. He had a checked gun. It is said that he claimed his bag, removed the gun from his baggage, went into a bathroom to load it, and came out of that bathroom and opened fire. Again, 13 in total were shot, 5 were killed, 8 more injured, and are now said to be in various states of recovery at area hospitals. What more, then, can you tell us, Chris, about the information that we're just learning?
Well, we're still working to confirm that with Air Canada, but here are the rules. You can actually take a firearm in your checked bag. Now, there are some rules. The TSA requires that it be unloaded in a hard-sided, locked container, but you can travel with a handgun. So it is completely possible that that is how this played out, that he had checked the firearm, got his checked bag, loaded the weapon, and then started shooting. That would certainly be a new one as far as what we have seen in shootings at airports. Typically, we've seen people come in from the outside, not through the secured area, with the gun essentially on them in their checked bag. But you do have the right, as a flyer, you can check a handgun.
Chris Van Cleve in Washington, we do want to ask you to stay with us. Meanwhile, I do now want to welcome Florida Senator Bill Nelson. Senator, we very much appreciate your time. I do know that you have been in contact with authorities, including the head of the TSA, Administrator Peter Neffinger. What is it that you can tell us as it relates specifically to the state of the investigation right now?
Well, a lot of the information I got about an hour and a half ago from Admiral Neffinger, TSA, so you're more up to date and you've been covering it very well. I would point out that it is a soft, easy target where there are bunches of people. It is a soft, easy target where there are bunches of people. In this case, outside of baggage claim, we saw a similar situation last year at the Brussels airport, but instead it was outside of the checkpoint to go into the airport as well as the ticketing counter. And whenever you have these kind of targets, the best deterrent is the Viper team, the dog. And last year, late last year, we doubled the number of those Viper teams in the FAA bill. But it's just going to be hard to get enough dog teams for all of the crowds that we find in airports. And that's going to be a continuing problem.
Only one of the questions to answer in the aftermath here, Senator. As we just heard the update from authorities, I also want to ask you about some information provided to us by Broward County Commissioner Chip LaMarca, who is said that have been told that Esteban Santiago, the suspect identified and later arrested by authorities, was a passenger on an Air Canada flight traveling with a checked gun, and that he did have a concealed weapon permit, later said to have entered a bathroom, loaded the gun, and returning to the baggage claim area, and so opening fire. Can you tell us anything specifically as it regards that?
No, I do not have that information. I was given the information that he had a military ID identification, but whether or not that was his, whether it was an up-to-date one, or if it was someone else's, we don't know. But they've got him in custody, so we had the name. They'll be able to run that down quite quickly if he was military.
Again, we can confirm that Mr. Santiago was born in New Jersey, and again, as you mentioned, Senator, was taken into custody in possession of a military ID. It is a question, meanwhile, Senator, perhaps without an answer, a question that following incidents just this year in cities such as Istanbul and Brussels, where we have seen terrorist attacks play out at airports there, a question asked about departure areas in these terminals and just how far out can one extend a perimeter while also ensuring the safety of the inevitable lines that will build at the security checkpoints. It now seems that a similar question must be asked about how to better secure baggage claim areas that have certainly seen far less stringent levels of security.
Wherever you have crowds, and at airports, you'll continue to have crowds. As long as there's inclement weather, people are going to have to be inside. and as a result, that's a soft target. Seaports. There's another one where you're going to have crowds getting on and off of a cruise ship. So it's the inevitable thing that we have to prepare for this kind of protection. And again, the dog teams are one. But let me give you another example. We're all too sensitive in Florida about crowds. A crowded nightclub, the Pulse nightclub, and you saw what carnage was wrecked there. Unfortunately, this is the era in which we live.
And that shooter in Orlando, of which you speak, did invoke the Islamic State in speaking with authorities, as in fact he was committing that crime. And certainly as it speaks to the time in which we live, Senator, in speaking with authorities today, including Admiral Neffinger, do we know if any sort of similar invocation or responsibility has been seen here?
I asked that question, and at that moment, we don't have a motive. I might say that since you mentioned the Pulse nightclub, that it's interesting that just today I filed the bill that I'd filed in the last Congress. In this case, had it been law, Mateen, the shooter, was on an investigative terrorist list.
Florida Senator Bill Nelson, very much appreciate your time and insight this afternoon, Senator. Again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
And as we do then bring in our Chris Van Cleve. Chris, again, as we've learned from a Broward County Commissioner, Chip LaMarca, the update and information that he has provided, we are working to confirm. The shooter, a passenger on an Air Canada flight who had a checked gun in his baggage. He claimed his bag made his way to a suspect apprehended, said to have loaded 26-year-old Esteban Santiago. As you can see, Chris, here does appear to be a handgun. Open fire. I know, again, you have made it clear that you can have a weapon in checked luggage. It is allowed, but certainly this will be a new debate to be had.
You know, it will likely cause TSA to look at these rules and, you know, perhaps putting some restrictions. But the rules as they are right now, you can check a weapon. It has to be unloaded, but you can also check ammunition. It has to be in a locked case, but of course, you're the one who locked the case, so you could unlock it once you've gotten it out of baggage claim. You know, the thought is, with these gun rules, is you want to keep the firearm out of the hands of somebody on an airplane, and that was why you could have it checked, is because that would be just like transporting it like any other cargo. I don't know that there was thought put into, well, could somebody use it to transport to an airport and then use that as a way to shoot up the airport.
For the first time, Wink News is hearing from some of the witnesses in the attack who are very shaken up.
My family's in Terminal 2. I was taking the rental car back and kind of waiting between Terminal 1 and the rental car place. Everybody started running out of Terminal 1, out of the rental car place. Some lady was yelling for help down in the garage, so I just ran, and here I am.